Beginning. Good evening, podcast world, and those on Facebook Live. Time for another episode of Things My Mother Never Told Me.
Yes, it is.
And we got another special guest. And see, when we say that, we really mean that, because we know these people for real, for real.
For real, for real. That's like you said, that's no joke.
Right.
We know them.
Hey, Pat, how you doing?
I am great. How are you?
Doing good, doing real good. So, as I told you when we were talking beforehand, Tina's going to read your bio, and then we're going to jump on in here and ask you a few questions, let you tell your story.
Okay, sounds great.
All right.
All right, then. Welcome everybody out there in the social media world, the platform. We have today the Dalton Law Firm, life and legacy attorney. Patricia Dalton's estate planning practice focuses on educating people about the benefits of estate planning, thus helping families enhance their lives today and secure their futures tomorrow. She patiently guides her clients through the often confusing maze of financial and legal decisions to create plans that ensure the well-being of their families and the accomplishment of cherished family goals. Her legal experience includes estate planning, probate, and guardianship. Whether you are married or starting out or looking back on a life well lived, Patricia will help you to craft a plan that achieves your goals for your loved ones today and for years to come. Patricia graduated from Western Michigan University Thomas M. Cooley Law School in 2001. After graduating from law school, she passed the Arizona bar exam, but changed her plans to relocate to Arizona. She interned with the 60 Plus Elder Law Clinic and later served as an adjunct professor at the 60 Plus Elder Law Clinic. Most recently, she worked with the highly respected law firm, Henry Legal Firm LLC. She was so impressed with their level of service and Christian principles implemented in the law firm, she knew it was the correct time to open her own law firm. Patricia is licensed by the state of the Bar of Illinois. She is also a member of the Family Wealth Planning Institute and holds the distinction of being a personal family lawyer. Most importantly, Patricia is the mother of Brittany, Patrice, and Love. All right, everybody, let's welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah,
Once
Miss
again, how you
Law.
doing?
Good, good.
Good. You got a lot of stuff going on here, but usually we start out with asking about our guest educational background. So what high school did you go to?
There's only one high school in Detroit. It's called Cass Technical High School. I get her every time. She's like, "Would you stop that?"
I'm so watch this. I am so shocked and amazed that you went to Cass. and well, like you said, there's only one school. And where did you go to college?
Michigan State University.
See, and then you went to Thomas Cooley at Western Michigan.
Yes.
For your law degree.
All right.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's good.
It sure is.
I'm impressed.
So with that in mind, we're gonna get some personal stuff out there. Then we'll let you get to the business part. What caused you to pursue a law degree?
I was bored with what I was doing. I worked at United Airlines almost 10 years. And when I started out, before they started outsourcing things, I worked in their vacation travel planning center. So I was planning vacations everywhere, Hawaii, Europe, and it was like in detail, international travelers, lots of fun. I even got to go to some of these places and some of it for work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just started thinking, you know what? I think I need to do something more intellectually challenging. And I had someone say to me when I got switched when they outsourced to our premier travelers that travel a lot. And so then you have the doctors or whatever, and sometimes they weren't so nice, and sometimes they had professions that everyone couldn't pronounce. And most of the time I could. And so one of my coworkers said, "You know, you're too smart to work here."
That's the bottom line.
Okay. And he said a word, And then another coworker said she was close to retirement age, and she said, find something else to do while you still can. And the sealing, what sealed it was, I read this book, and my daughter, I read this book that said, do what you love, the money will follow.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of wanted to do just something else. I had a young daughter. When I went to law school, she was when I started, she was 4.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I had a young daughter. I wanted to do something more positive, and I really did need to do something more intellectually challenging.
That's right. That's right.
And it was fun, and it was nice when I was doing the vacation planning, because there was a lot more detail and things that had to go into it.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Once they start outsourcing, you know how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's a big jump, though.
I know.
I know, from the airlines to law school,
Right.
it was, but I just really thought about, what do I like to do, and what am I, if I see something and I'm reading about something, what do I focus on? What grabs my attention? And so I said it was law school, and everybody not that I knew that was a doctor was like, oh yeah, you want to be a lawyer. So sometimes you have to ignore the naysayers, because I could have said the same to you. Oh yeah, you want to be a doctor.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's everyone. So it's worked out, because I had the distinction of being able to say I really enjoyed law school, and I defy you to find another attorney that will tell you that. They're like, what? So I picked the right school, I had the right professors, and I really did enjoy going to law school.
Well, all right.
So
Wow.
Yeah, that's just amazing to me. I'm like,
Me too.
Okay. So
It's right up there with going to be a doctor. You're like, yeah, go to medical school. Oh no, did you internship? Oh,
so
no.
let me ask you, you can answer it if you want to. How long did it take you to pass the bar?
I passed on the first time.
Okay. Yeah.
I went to Cass, remember?
I know.
He just wanted you to
I'm
repeat
just
that.
I'm just like low key bragging for you. Don't worry about it. So you went and worked for where's that, the other firm, Henry
Legal Firm.
Henry Legal Firm. How long did you work for them?
A little over a year.
Okay.
And they are general counsel for what we would refer to as a mega church. And the lead attorney practices criminal law. So he did all of that. He loves it, but I'm starting to find out that's like a secret, that they say it's fun and it's not as hard as it seems. And, and so his wife was the other partner there, and what we mostly did was personal injury, estates, probate, guardianship, and conservatorship. We didn't do anything criminal. He handled all the criminals.
Well, it's a good thing you weren't doing anything criminal because of what you were doing. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Okay, so you stayed there a year, because I know you and I talked a little bit, a little while ago when you were agreeing to come on the show.
Oh,
Yeah, we talked. So I gotta get background, so I don't gonna have to read this stuff.
no.
What was it like stepping out on your own to do your own, have your own firm?
A little bit scary, but one of the things that motivates a lot of attorneys to do their own firm is the 60-hour weeks. To give you a good example, let's say you work at one of those big law firms and they have you work 80 hours a week, and maybe they start you out at $100,000. When you divide that by how much time you have to spend working, you're making about $3 an hour.
Ooh.
And most of the time, they don't have a lot of good things to say about how that works. So it's being able to, like, I'm able to give back in a different kind of way, because doing what I'm doing is a service to the community. the statistics out here right now say that 68% of people do not have any type of estate planning in place, and 70% in the African American community.
Okay.
So it gives me a chance to earn a living and be of service because it's important. I have a few stories I can tell you about why, but it's important for everyone to have at least basic estate plans in place.
Okay. So, well, you know what? Then let's do this. Let's jump in and let's talk about what your services are and how would one contact you and that whole thing.
Okay. What I do, I call it life plan. One of the problems I think is people think about it as planning for death, and you're not planning for death, you're planning for your life. One good example is that if you have children that are minors, you need to have a guardianship in place. And a lot of people will say, well, I have a will, so that names the guardian. Well, here's the problem. If you're incapacitated and you don't die, you have nothing in place for your children. So there are a lot of instances where people think, well, I don't have any money, I don't have anything at all, so I don't need an estate plan. And it's not true. If you work every day, you have something.
Right.
You actually have something people will fight over when you die if you have not told them what to do with it.
Now you have that right.
The other thing is, if you become incapacitated and you don't have any estate plans, okay, let's say you have an evil twin and your parents aren't around and you become incapacitated. And let's say you're rich and your evil twin is poor. What do you think is going to happen? She's going to drain your bank accounts because more than likely they'll appoint her.
Right.
Because when you go to the court, they don't know you. They don't know that she's the evil twin and that if she had an opportunity to do something bad to you, she might do it.
Yeah.
So that's why you need to have in place who's going to take care of my children if something happens to them, and who's going to take care of me, who that I trust.
Yeah.
Because the court's going to look at your immediate family, and you may not, there may be someone in your family that would have priority that you would not want to make decisions for you.
Right. Exactly. So well, you said now there's some stories that you could tell about why. Do you share one of them?
I'll share. Let me see which one I like the best. Okay, I'm gonna be a downer right now and tell you about a tragic story. I think it was about in 2006. This family was traveling to Arizona, I believe. It was 3 boys and the 2 parents, and they were in a tragic accident. Both of the parents died. These 3 boys had an aunt that was closest, and she came to get the boys, and it started a family battle. So we don't know if the battle was because the parents had left a lot of assets, because that can happen too. And so they ended up spending thousands of dollars going back and forth to court to see who was going to get these boys. In the meantime, because the parents didn't have anything in place, they actually went to foster care until they could find a relative. And I know people kind of like, what, the police in the foster care? But actually, they're doing their job.
Right.
If you have 3 kids, the parents are both deceased, they left no instructions, then that's what they have to do until they can locate a family member.
Right.
And so it did end up the person that originally took the child didn't keep the child. The other aunt did. But the problem was we will never know if the judge made the right decision because the parents didn't leave any directions.
Right. Yeah. And that is can be a problem. We see it on Lifetime anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you seen? I'm telling everyone to watch this movie. if you don't, I say, if you don't take what I'm saying seriously, I want you to go on Netflix and watch this movie called I Care a Lot, because it does really happen.
Yes,
Wow.
that's that movie. you
Yes,
was
man.
watching.
We
You
had
saw that
watched it.
movie?
Yeah,
Yes.
twice.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah, because we had saw it prior to, during the pandemic or something
We're doing
like
the
that.
pandemic. So.
And then we had talked to somebody else that said,
Bet.
hey, yeah, the bet. And she said, watch that movie. You know, she
Oh
told me to
yeah,
watch that movie.
because I think I told Yvette to watch it too.
Yeah,
I think
so
Yvette and Denise watched that movie. I said, you have to watch that movie. I said, if you think if you see that movie and you don't think maybe I better call someone and get a plan in place.
Right.
oh, it was
But
there.
it's awful. That's one of the worst things, the elder abuse, taking advantage of older people
Yeah.
and taking money that they worked all their life like they don't deserve to have it.
Mhm.
Wow. I mean, it was so awful. It was incredible.
Real before you ask the question, we got a question from one of our listeners. They want to know, how specific should we be in our will or estate planning?
I would say very specific. So one of the things that I do when I'm planning with you is called I can't even think of what I call it now. It's a wealth and inventory list.
Okay.
So you're going to have everything that you're doing listed out. And we also do a distribution list. So if you have a daughter, a niece, a nephew, that there's an object in your home that you know that they admire, rather than let people, argue over who gets what, then you have specifically there that usually attached to the will, I may leave a list.
Mhm.
And so you'll have there specifically what to give to each person in your family, or if it's just maybe one item, because that causes hurt feelings too, which people don't think about. If you don't say anything and you just say, okay, everybody take turns choosing, so there could be something that's really sentimental to someone that would mean a lot to them that the other person doesn't necessarily care so much about, but you would know that because you spent time with the person.
Right. Because I know if you're Black, you done had somebody die. You had a family member come over there talking about so and so said they wanted me to have this, that, or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me. My grandmother had this coat, and it's like, and she thought I must have admired it at one time or something like that. But when she passed, her son gave the coat to his wife, who he ended up divorcing even less than a year later. But I'm just saying, I didn't know she had wanted me to have it, but I was like, it was no sweat. I mean, because I don't have a problem with
You
that.
about to ask a question?
I have a guardianship question.
Okay.
I have an aunt who's 84. She has dementia. She had been diagnosed way back, in 2011 or whatever, with bipolar syndrome. Anyway, where the dementia is escalating. We had family members that we were rotating, taking care of her. I didn't really pick her up until really the end of the second year of the pandemic. I started going out there because, like you said, they weren't able to attend, so I started going out there. Well, now everybody has gotten tired of it.
Okay.
And they was tired of her mind games. They just became overwhelmed. I even also, in my became overwhelmed because we really don't know how to really care for her. But anyway, as the time progresses, I end up making the decision and asking the Lord, can I be the full guardianship? Not knowing what that really fully entails. And like you said, she's been, and she's kind of difficult. She doesn't help us, she doesn't appreciate assistance or care. And she's been labeled mentally incapable. She doesn't have the capacity to handle her medical care or her finances, except for paying her rent. Other than that,
she does that on her own.
She takes it up to the
to the leasing office.
To the
Yeah.
leasing office? Okay.
Now she does do that sometimes ahead of time, and they'll just hold the check. But I just want to know what that fully entails. She was there was a adult family protective services in the play because she had fell and broke her neck. And that's when I was just saying, nope, she's not able to take care of herself. And I let the doctor know that. So I received a letter from him saying she's incapable. And then I told the Adult Protective Service that I would take on that responsibility. And I filled out the wrong paperwork. But anyway, I just want to know, what does that really entail? Are they going to do a background check on me? What does
No,
this
they,
really-
no, they would have to have some reason to do that, like someone stepped forward and said, we don't think you're capable. Normally, they're not going to do anything like that without a reason. So the sounds like she meets the criteria. It has to be clear and convincing evidence that she's incapable of making informed decisions for herself. So when you think of guardianship, you're thinking of the person. So you would be able to decide where she lives, responsible for making sure she gets her medical care. Basically anything that has to do with her personally, you would be responsible for. The other side of it is the conservatorship, which is controlling the finances. And I don't know if you think that's necessary or not. You said she pays her rent. I don't know if it's anything else she pays that she doesn't remember, or things that she needs to take care of that she doesn't take care of.
Well, she had a malpractice lawsuit at one time. And somebody else in the family is controlling all that. Somebody else is on her banking statement.
Okay, so if it's a case where someone else is controlling it, if you think they're wasting her assets, then it would be okay. Then you might want to get a conservatorship. But if it seems that they're taking care of everything she needs and they're not using her money in a manner that they should not, and investing it properly, because that's a responsibility too. If you're going to be in control of someone's money and she received a large settlement, then they need to make sure they're investing that money properly.
No, I don't know.
The issue that she's talking about is that she had a settlement, and she went to a meeting with some people. Well, I don't know if it was a loan company or whatever, and they signed an agreement to give her money up front, as opposed to her getting an annuity. And so this whoever these people are, they are now collecting the annuity because they paid her. And they have the rights to the annuity until she's 91 years old. So that's what she's talking about. That's not outside. That's not when he be involved in this, because it's something that's already been done.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's cool. So what's the biggest problem that you run into when it comes to power of attorney, conservatorship, or wills, or estate planning, any of that? What's the biggest problem that you see?
The biggest problem is if you appoint the incorrect person. And so I spend time asking you questions, thinking about this. Now, when I was in 60 plus, sometimes you'd have that where someone would come in and it's like, well, she's the oldest. And so you have to explain to them, this is based on who's going to do what you want them to do. That's how you have to look at it. Not, well, that's the firstborn and they're going to get mad. So I think that's the biggest criteria, is that you're finding someone that you trust, number one, and someone that will do what you ask them to do.
Right. And so, right, I can see that. What about so like you do what do we just call it, the when you take
Guardianship?
the guardianship, and so your one of your primary concerns is making sure they get proper medical care and that sort of thing. What
Right.
we go ahead.
And like as she mentioned, the person fell and broke their neck. So their home may not be the safest place for them. They may need to adjust where they're living depending on what caused that fall. So that would be a decision that you could also make, that I think you need a little more help, bring some help in, or I think you need to, like if they have stairs to go up and down, I think you need to be someplace that doesn't have stairs. So that would be one of the considerations you would be able to make.
And so then what would be your considerations with because you know what we talking about, senior folks and them not necessarily being even in a position now to make the proper decision most of the time, with them and having issues with them taking their medication or even agreeing to certain things that you think is necessary for their well-being. What would be?
Well, a guardianship wouldn't really help with them taking the medication. If it's a matter of forgetfulness, maybe having someone that assists, that comes by, because those services are available. It's mostly about making sure their decisions for their daily living and health are taken care of.
Right. So the global decision in the
Yeah.
the day-to-day stuff is really, unless you there with them, is on them. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Because and sometimes you have situations where they decide, well, I don't need this medicine.
Or I want all of it now.
That's even worse.
Yeah.
That's worse. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Right.
That's
Okay.
even worse.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to put out there, and then we're going to ask you a couple of things, is that I know you on your Facebook page, you've been posting a series of helpful hints and tips for people.
Yes.
Would you like to share that?
Well, this week I was talking about some of the credits you can have for income tax, and I do a different subject every week. I have a blog post, and you can go on the blog post and read the full article. So there's some credits out there that are going to end this year, some extra childcare credits. There are extra credits for if you are in school, and they even have one if you're in trade school, any type of program that you can apply for credits. And what else is out there? There's quite a few out there.
Okay.
So what I do is kind of just put a small piece on there, and you can click on that blog. My business page, anyone can go on. The page that you are on is my personal page, but I put the same articles on my business page, which is public.
Okay. And what's the title of the business page?
Okay, don't set me the line. I think. Let me see. I think it says Dalton Law. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure that's all that one says. Okay, it says. Okay, it says the Dalton Law Firm PC. And I have like 20 texts because my family's probably like, how we get on? We can't find it. Okay. I'm like, I can't answer you now.
What, they trying to get on and see this?
Yes. I know that's what they're doing.
Facebook.
And I did say or Facebook. Oh, actually it's Denise and Karen texting me. It's that group. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on that I'm getting out of.
Well, Karen is watching. I already saw her name pop up.
Oh, I'm trying to send you. Let me find.
You have to, if you can say it. Brandis put it up there.
The Dalton Law Firm PC is the Facebook page.
Okay. Yeah.
So the Dalton Law Firm, PC, and those articles are on there, and you can click on where it says. If you go into the comments, you can click on the whole and go to the whole article.
Okay.
Because for everyone listening, I just found this out. If you put something in your post that goes to another site, then Facebook likes to make it kind of disappear because they don't want you clicking off of their pages. So they told me the trick is put it in the comments and they won't bother slow your page down and
Right.
receive it.
Right. Gee, who would have thought Facebook would do something like that?
I know. Hard to believe, isn't it?
Right. So okay. Let me go back to your bio here again, and because I want should I tell him that? Should I tell him about stuff to me and you talked about before?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Yeah.
Because initially you passed the Arizona bar exam,
Yes.
and then you decided not to relocate there. Let's talk about that real quick.
Okay. It had a lot to do with my daughter.
Of course.
Because you know how us moms are. And so I decided not to uproot her, and we ended up staying in the Lansing area.
Okay. Well, that's cool. That's cool. Moms make big sacrifices for their kids.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so then you interned, you said, at the 60+ elder law clinic.
I did.
And so talk about that, and then we'll go to the and then you are also adjunct professor there. Well, wait a minute, let me see. I'm trying to say, yeah. So
no, you're right.
Yeah.
You were okay.
Yeah.
So at the school that I went to, everyone had to do an internship or externship. It wasn't optional.
Okay.
Because they were real big on you having practical experience when you left.
Yeah.
So originally, I hadn't even considered that, but a good friend of mine did it a semester before me, and you actually get to practice law in the clinic.
Okay.
Whereas most externships, you are shadowing. So that's all she had to say to me. I was like, really? So I applied for the next semester, and it's a 2-semester internship. And so there were 2. There was the one that I interned in where you do anything that was not fee generating. Because we were students, their goal was to work with people 60 and older that made too much money for legal aid, but attorney fees may have been a little too much for them also.
Okay.
But so that's why we did non-fee generating, because they wanted us to get the experience, but not take away cases that were paying for people that were actually out there working.
Yeah,
so we did real estate. Someone maybe had a DUI. I had to go to court for divorce, and so it was good experience. Now they also had a clinic that was only estate planning, and that's the one where they had me in as an adjunct professor.
Okay.
So I would supervise the signings and preparing the documents, talk to the clients, and do interventions that, as like a first, you're so eager that you can actually practice. So the first,
okay, law and order.
I know the first semester of the internship, your supervising professor saying, no, well, I think you should drop that client. And I'm like, no, I really like this client. I like this person. I was an adjunct professor.
Right.
One client, this is why one client had to go. Lady brought her elderly mother in for a will.
Mm-hmm.
And so she wanted to come in the room with her. So the interns came and got me. And I said, well, no, she can't go in the room with her. The will won't be worth the paper it's written on. So then she started crying. I had no sympathy. Okay. Just like, no, it's over. No. And so I looked at her and I said, what exactly is it that you think they're going to do to your mother? And she's like, no. I said, they're not writing a will with you in the room.
Right.
Bye. Okay. Intern Patricia, first semester internship, well, is there anything we can do? Can we put her by the glass?
Second semester, you was like, no, we don't have that kind of.
No, we're not doing it. And I know they came and got me because they were feeling the same thing. Like my first semester as an intern, we don't really want to turn her away, but you have to.
Right.
Because
Well, yeah, that's the point of internship, though. Thicken their skin.
yes.
get you ready for the real world, because a lot of times we don't understand real world. Wow. Okay. So what was that you was gonna say? You was gonna answer something.
Went into the Henry, the legal firm.
Right. Well, yeah, she talked about it, but just talk a little bit more about the Henry legal firm, because that's yeah.
I've known them for a long time, like brothers and sisters, and they go to they're a big part of City of Praise Family Ministries. They go to the church, general counsel, and I like that they were able to bring in just Christian principles when they're dealing with clients, whatever they were doing.
Yes.
And I'm seeing a little bit. It's a couple more attorneys that do that, but I was really impressed with that, because in our work, when we can bring our Christian principles, that's a good thing.
Yes.
And that's what I like about the way I've been trained to do estate planning. Even though I started out at the 60 Plus clinic, I took a course called New Law Business Model.
Okay.
And so it's totally different. We integrate things that I didn't do before. One of my favorite things is the legacy interview. So we have 3 meetings instead of the normal 2 meetings. And at that final meeting, what we do is have you record a message to your family. You could record it, just voice, or you can have the visual too, the video also. And we focus on taking care of a life plan and not necessarily focusing on death, because, okay, what about while you're living? And what legacy do you want to leave for your family?
Right.
What's important to you that they know?
Yeah.
Are you a Christian? You have those principles. You want to stay in the family. So it's a lot about the first meeting that I do. We put aside 2 hours for this meeting.
Okay.
So we want to get to know you. What's important to you? Not you just come in and we say, okay, you need this, this, and that. It's never you need. It's about what do you want to happen, and let's talk about how you can make that happen.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I think that would make it less onerous, if you will, or painful to people. You know, in our community, we don't like to talk about us not being here.
Right. We absolutely don't. And they give me some material sometimes, and I change it because I know my community.
Yeah.
But they give me some material sometimes that says, okay, so when you die, I'm like, no, you don't word that like that in my community.
That's right.
So I know I have to take that out of there, because what happens is they'll stop listening. Okay.
Yeah.
You can't just you just can't put it like that. And I'm really aware of that. And that could point to why we also have 70% of the people in our community not having an estate plan.
Yeah.
Because they really don't want to hear it like that.
Right. Right. Yeah, well, you know how we say things, and it makes a big difference in how we receive them anyway.
And it's actually not about that. So in the traditional way it is, okay, get a will for when you die. But it's not about that. It's about leaving a legacy for your family, making sure that if something happens, it's easy for them to find what they need and they know what you want, not the whole family huddled together going, well, what should we do?
Right.
And then people disagreeing and screaming at each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah, it definitely takes all that out of it. At least it should take all of that out of it. This is not your show anymore.
No. So this is what she has written down she wants us to do, and you need to honor that. Is what it is.
Right. Right. I like that. I like that.
You know what? Another question I wanted to ask too, Pat. When we have beneficiaries in place, your insurance, IRA, or whatever, we have to include that in the will, or we don't. They won't take them.
No, for insurance you don't. But what you may want if you have insurance. So let's say you have a $250,000 policy that's going to go to your one child. However, when something happens, this child is 18. Was it in your intention for your child to have $250,000 when they turned 18?
Mm-hmm.
So if the answer is no, that's when we talk about what will be put in place so he does not receive a lump sum of $250,000.
Okay.
So then we would look at trust and things like that.
Okay.
So that money doesn't go to an 18-year-old that's going to buy a Lamborghini and you wanted them to have the money.
Right. Wait till you're 45 to buy that Lambo.
At least making adult money.
But that's a good idea. And I know was it you say you once a month or once a week you do your posts? Because I know one of them you went over the items that don't need to be in a will.
Yes.
Yeah. Could you share some of that?
Yeah, some of them will pass out. Like an insurance policy has a beneficiary on it, so that will pass outside a will. And let me see, your IRA would have anything that would have a beneficiary on it would pass outside.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But we still go back to you do want to look at how you want those assets distributed if it's going to one of your children.
Mm-hmm.
And just had something on the tip of my tongue. Okay, so another thing that we do. Okay, and I'm gonna put this out there. Well, we refer to this as a poor man's estate plan. When instead of getting estate documents, you put a daughter on the house, or you put all your kids on the house, you put their names on the bank account. Okay, so here's the problem with that. Now, everyone that does this doesn't have responsible children. So a couple of things can happen. When you get older and they decide, well, we don't care, we're just going to take your money.
Mm-hmm.
If they are sued while their name is on your bank account, they can take your money.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's little things like that. Even if there's nothing where the child would intentionally do something, because you can be sued without being intentional. I mean, you could get in a car accident and be sued.
Right.
So that's another thing to think about why you wouldn't want to do it that way, because if something happens, legally that's their money, even though the name is only on there in case something happens to you.
Because you didn't have no credit. you heard what I said, right?
Even if they're giving percentages,
I heard.
Even if they divided out percentages, they can still just take everything.
No, she said if you put it's just like when you co-sign for a car. If they don't pay the car, you liable.
Right.
So if you put their name on that house, they're looked at as an owner of the house, and if they get sued,
as the owner of the house.
Right.
Okay.
If they get sued, that's an asset that they can go after to recoup whatever they're trying to sue for.
And their creditors could go after your house too.
Exactly. So whatever they do, you just did it.
Mm-hmm.
Or your house did.
Right. Even though that wasn't necessarily your intention.
Mm-hmm.
So and you could have a case where someone says, okay, I'll take my chances, but I'm about just like informing you and maybe telling you a story. Okay, well, this actually happened to this person. And if you're all right with that, okay. But now you know that there's a possibility that this is a consequence of doing it that way, because I know people have done that for years.
Right. So you just about giving them the information so they can make a really informed decision.
Informed decision, not telling someone, okay, well, you need to do this, this, and this. If I tell you that may happen, or if you're incapacitated and you don't have a healthcare directive, first of all, your family would have to go to court to make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And, thank you, HIPAA, they're not getting much information.
Right.
Right. So that's the issue too now, because previously you may have been able to have medical personnel tell you a little more than what they'll tell you now because of HIPAA. So to get information and to make decisions when you want to be there with your loved one, you're going to need to go to court and try and get all that put in place so you can come back with your document and say, now I have the authority to do this. Whereas if I did it before I was incapacitated, they'd have the document.
Right.
So there wouldn't be the court wouldn't be involved with it.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So well, I was gonna say a will and estate planning is just like insurance. You just don't have to pay for it. You pay if you don't do it.
Right.
Right. You do. You pay if you don't do it in the long run.
In the long run, right? So that's good. So I'm gonna segue real quick because I don't think did I tell you this? That we always ask our guests a question. You see the thing behind us that says things my mother never told me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, what did my mother never tell me?
Yeah. What I know is something that she probably didn't tell you.
Okay. Let me think. Oh, why wouldn't he tell me this before so I would know what to tell
I thought I did. I don't know.
That led you on your journey, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it could be anything that because really the idea is that there are things that we probably are encountered on our journey that our parents, for whatever reason.
Talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what my parents never told me. And I wonder about this today, and I never asked them about it.
Mm-hmm.
They never told me about the civil rights movement. All of that information I either read or talked to someone else about. And
they didn't get into it. I mean, what? Okay, that's interesting. I haven't heard that one. What did it? What type of role did it play in their lives?
And I never knew. I know they understood. We were in Detroit, so I know they understood that there were differences. And I even remember being in the middle of the Detroit riot. And I'm pretty sure at least one of my sisters were in the car. I don't know if both of them were. But I just I always thought about that they never talked about anything that had to do with civil rights to us. Now, I don't know if they spoke, and I'm going to ask her when I get off. I don't know if they talked to my older sister or not, but it was like when you see the Cosby Show and they're all gathered in the living room talking about civil rights movement.
Right.
We never had any type of discussion like that.
It was on Blackish. Blackish was about it.
That's interesting because I don't know that. Back when we was coming up, I don't know that was just a topic of discussion as much as it was just what we saw. What we actually saw coming up.
And maybe that's what it was, but it's kind of like Martin Luther King's speech and things like that. It wasn't mentioned. It wasn't, okay, he's about to speak. Come on, everyone, let's go watch this on TV.
Right.
And I kind of find that interesting. And maybe that's why I did something different with my daughter, because every year at Cooley, they would have some kind of program for Martin Luther King's birthday, and I always took her.
Okay.
So maybe that's what influenced me, because I wanted to make sure she knew about those types of important events. Yeah. And she also got to go to the first inauguration for Barack Obama.
Oh, okay.
So when you hear her say, I never took her anywhere.
Well, how old is she now?
She's 28.
Oh, okay. I hate her.
Is she pursuing a lawyer too?
Oh, she said law is boring.
You don't look at Law and Order.
That's a good program.
Yeah, but that's TV law.
That's TV law, but it's still some truth in it.
Yeah, it's some truth. And if you get into that area, maybe. Oh, that's interesting. But I mean, that's interesting because I wish I could have went to his inauguration because sadly, or greatly, he was the first president that we over there.
Okay.
That's what really hit me. Not aside from the fact the first Black man to be elected president, but he was the first president that we actually were older than when he got inaugurated. Like, wow. I've been around a while.
We have.
So,
We getting there.
so outside of your legal practice, what kind of stuff you'd like to do?
Okay, so I'm still sewing. So I still make clothes. During the pandemic, I started something called Adult Tea Time Coloring on the second and fourth Saturday. So we go on Zoom, we color, light a candle, make some tea, and it's so relaxing. My sister actually did it for the single ministry. She goes to church with the Henrys,
Okay.
and she did that for one of her events. And so she had a few people that came to support her, but they all said it's really relaxing. And my sister that can't sit down for like an hour, she stayed on the whole time and was coloring. And I think they forgot this. Tea time coloring is from 4 to 5. Usually we're coloring from 4 to 6. And Karen has come on a couple of times, but she don't like to sit still. She likes to dance. So she's not on there that much.
She like to dance, yeah.
And so y'all see what do you color?
Okay, so let me show you. I think it's up here. We started with, I think one of my pictures is right here. We started with a book that my daughter-in-law created. And this is what I did last.
Oh,
so
okay.
I put that on Facebook. So we have a few books. Like I got this Christian coloring book, and you just use what you want to. I use coloring pencils. My sister has purchased some gel pens. Those look really nice.
Oh, yeah.
So when I think about it, I'll get some. And then there's been occasions like we had like the little kids in the family around. And so we just give them a piece of paper and some crayons, and they'll just sit there and color too. But it was really nice because we couldn't see each other. And so it was a nice way to get together and just relax. It really is relaxing.
Okay. That's interesting.
So are y'all talking about things as you color?
Oh, we are. And so when all the people that are off the like Zoom, they don't want to stay on 2 hours, and it's just like Denise, Yvette, my sisters. Oh, we talk about a lot of things.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure that you do.
I was just wondering. I was looking, y'all can't see each other's coloring, like you're turning around and doing this. I said, well, wait a minute, what do you do besides coloring? Okay.
Yeah.
Then.
While we still sitting, I'm gonna ask that if anybody has any other questions they want to ask with Patricia, go ahead and ask, and we'll get an answer for you while we winding down. You had something else you want to ask me?
You know what? I just want to know, now that we're talking about this estate planning, it's like, how do we get us to do it? How do we get us to do it?
You know what? I got the best response was when I recently I was invited to do a webinar and a presentation on estate planning.
Okay.
And so the goal is to start setting them up at least twice a month. So I'll be doing that. And I think the reception is a little better when you see there's a different way to do it.
Okay.
And it's incorporating your legacy and what you want to leave behind for your family, other than things.
Yeah.
Your stories, your recipes.
Right.
And I actually I recently sent my sisters a text before I did the presentation, really the whole family, and said, what recipes were your favorite of my mom's?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that was interesting to see, like what everybody liked the most. And then one casserole that only one sister knows how to make this recipe.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, that's interesting because I know my family, when we were doing our family reunion, one of the things that they put a call out was for everybody to send in recipes, favorite recipes from their parents, grandparents down through the years. And so when you say that, that's a good idea for something, because it's something that we need to have. You know, if Mama made that pound cake like nobody else, then we need to know that.
I know, and that's how, like you said, people have started their businesses like that.
Right, they have.
And you reminded me of something. There was and I have to teach someone in my family. There's a recipe. My grandmother would make fried apple pies. My mother could never make them, but I could.
Okay.
I'm the only one in the family left that knows how to make this recipe. So I'm going to have to teach someone. The hardest part is the crust, because this is all my grandmother said to me, and I understood what she meant. She said, make the crust short.
Don't do too much to it.
Yeah.
She meant not to put as much short in it.
Oh, okay.
And they did, and my mother would get so annoyed because she's like, every time I try it, they come apart.
Right.
And truthfully, when my mother saw me make those pies, she was secretly a hater.
Maybe that's why she didn't tell you. Maybe that's why she didn't tell you about civil rights. How dare you make that pie better than her?
My mother was like, what? But I understood what she meant. The dough needs to be a little tougher,
it needs to be tougher,
or it's going to come apart when you fry it.
Yes,
so
it will.
I'm going to have to make that. I think my niece Chanel would be the one that could make these. So I'm going to teach her and see what happens. But I mean, we loved when my grandmother would make those pies.
Yvette,
and no one else knows how to make them. So I guess I better get on it.
Yvette just asked a question. I got to find it.
Oh, but why are you doing that? Now, my daughter and them had an incident that happened to them. I don't know exactly how she come to this conclusion, but it was a difficult. But she called us, and she's planning a will, making out a will or trust or whatever, or in case something happened to her, because she's a state trooper. She called and got all our information so that she can. It would be no problems at the end.
Yeah, well, she should be listening, because I told her he was on. She said, okay.
Yeah, I was surprised she wasn't.
She probably,
I don't know, something might have come up.
No, she probably.
Yeah, she sure did. She called us. She called her brother. Me and my husband.
Okay, here it is. You're right. So right, the idea is to all the stuff that you need to know. You need to gather that information.
Gather that.
Because one of the biggest problems we have, like I know so much, is that we don't know where stuff is.
No, that is a big problem. And you make a good point. There is like billions of dollars in unclaimed property mostly because people didn't know where to find it.
Yeah.
So that is why we do the inventory with our clients. Yeah. So you know, if you have $50,000 in a bank account, nobody in the family knows you have the account, that money goes to the state.
Right. And that's the other thing. Not only do they not know where to find it, they don't know that you got it.
Right.
Yvette said, would it be easier to start off with getting power of attorney medical, or does the regular power of attorney cover that aspect, or something else?
Okay, so those are two separate documents.
Mm-hmm.
When you're referring to just the power of attorney, it could be durable or springing. And durable means that it's in effect now, so you better make sure you trust the person you give access to. That's going to cover your finances. So let's say, for instance, you were incapacitated, or you're going to be in the hospital. You don't even have to be unconscious. You could be somewhere where you can't pay your bills. When I say incapacitated, you could be in the hospital, not on your deathbed, but still unable to transact business. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to lose your house and you had the money in your account to pay it. Right. That's where that would come in. Someone would have the authority to access your bank accounts and they could pay your bill. The medical power of attorney would be because you're in the hospital. I like to refer to it as a health directive because it's easier to remember that way. Okay. So then you're telling people, okay, so this is what I want. And it could be as simple as, because this has happened, someone incapacitated in the hospital is a vegan, and their mother comes and decides they need meat. And so they because their body is not used to it, in their opinion, that slowed their healing. So it could even be as simple as that. If I'm in the hospital, I don't want this. I have allergies that people aren't aware of. If they give me a choice between this and this is what I want. Okay, so that's where that would come in. So that's why you need both of those documents.
Okay.
And the other part is what they refer to as a living will. If you want to make like an end of life decision of when to and when not to take me off life support.
Okay.
Terry Shavo was, I think she was considered brain dead for 11 years before she was taken off life support. So then you could have a document that says, please don't do that to me. If I'm considered brain dead or in a vegetative state,
Right.
and you may say 2 doctors, because you know things happen, people have come out of coma. So you may say, if 2 doctors agree, 2 independent doctors agree that I'm in a vegetative state and I won't recover, please don't leave me on life support for 10 years.
Okay.
Right. Right. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you is really about you're a member of the Family Wealth Planning Institute. What does that entail?
Okay, so they have trained me to present estate planning in a non-traditional way. So that's where it comes in that we look at it as life plans, your legacy, and they support us.
Okay.
So let's say I have a client come, it's about, I think 2000. I have a client across the country, and they're more in the Midwest, in the West than where I am. But let's say I have a client come in and they have a question. They are very generous. Everyone that I've ever asked a question, I can just go into a forum that we have, ask the question, and anybody that has information, there's like, Patricia, this is what you need to do. This is where you need to look. They support us with marketing. They built I don't know if you saw my website, they built my website at a very reasonable price.
Okay.
And we get information every week. We have training calls. So if I had something come up and I'm not sure how I want to handle it, we have training calls for all aspects: drafting, client engagement, marketing, basic estate planning if you're new to estate planning, advanced estate planning. And they just really have a wealth of information to go through. And they have broken down step by step how to do this so you can do this and have a life. We go through mindset training, which you would hardly, now I see it with the American Bar Association, but it's something you hardly ever saw, is thinking about your mental health, thinking about how you're thinking. Maybe you're not generating income because of how you're thinking and how you're approaching your business.
Okay.
And the other thing she did that blew my mind, but I've received it. When we do our calendar, put your free time in first. It's like, what the what?
That's right.
But it makes a lot of sense after you go through all the training on mindset. She said, stop living like that. Stop living to work. She said, if you have your own business, you clock out. Do you need to exercise every day? Then you put that on your calendar and you put your appointments around that. You don't say, don't say anyone that calls in, you don't say, well, when can you come in? You tell them what you have open.
Right.
And it's a whole different mindset than most of us are trained to do. We're trained, okay, someone calls, they want to come in today, let me clear my calendar and bring them in.
Yeah. That's good advice across the board for whatever you're doing, because the biggest problem we have, especially people who are up and coming, especially these millennials, is that we still, well, I'm saying because they're so task oriented. It's all about climbing that ladder of success that they throw out mental and physical well-being, because what good is a bunch of money if you're too tired to spend it or too sick?
And that sounds just like how Big Law was. A lot of people leave because of that. It's like, well, I work 6 days a week, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of them work on Sunday.
I'm sure they do, because our Big Law, big anything. If I can get you for 6, I'm gonna try to call you on the 7th one to see if you see if you answer the phone. If you do, then I know I got you.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's good. That's good.
So that's not a good lifestyle for anyone.
No, it's not at all. You'll wind up being on the other end of the stuff we've been talking about. So somebody trying to get guardianship over you.
I know. I know.
Real
We're taking you
quick, real
past
quick.
your time.
Vet said thank you.
You're welcome, Yvette.
Okay.
You know what? I have another scenario. A family friend has taken custody of a family member, and he has power of attorney. He took advantage of the person and is still taking advantage of the person. The member has since then passed. How can the family member can they break a power of attorney?
If the person is deceased, the power of attorney is no longer valid.
Oh, okay.
Right. Ain't nobody around to be over.
Mm-hmm.
What they would, the only thing they could do. Can I go again? But I read a lot of stuff and I watch Law and Order too. But I'm sure you will correct me where I go wrong. Is that if the person did something wrong or unethical, then their recourse would be to try to break the if they were still alive, the power of attorney or a will but depending on how long they've been dead, it might be too late anyway, right?
So would they need an intervention with probably the probate court and have a personal representative appointed, and then that person could act on behalf of the estate.
Okay.
So if they stole money from the estate, the personal representative can act on behalf of the estate.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it has to be something that's legally actionable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought about being a lawyer in my young days, but till I saw how much schooling it was.
Yeah, so much time.
I was like, oh, I can't go to school like that.
You could have thought it was fun, like I did.
I think a lot of stuff is fun until I actually start taking classes. Then the fun ends.
Yeah, you gotta be dedicated. You know what I'm saying?
So is there anything else that you want to share with the people before we let you go?
I want to share that everyone should have an estate plan, even if it's basic. And the most important thing is you don't want to go to an attorney that gives you a plan that you put in a drawer and never look at it again. If you have life changes, your plan needs to be updated. In the traditional way of doing it, you come in, let's say you're a new married couple, you're in your 20s, the attorney does a plan for you and is never looked at again. And there's so many things that would have changed during that time period.
Right. You know, I'm glad you said that. I want to throw something out there real quick because we talked about this in my lodge a lot. They, when you join, they give you a certificate, you know, so it's payable to your beneficiary upon your death through the Masonic organization. And a lot of people never look at, like you just said, never look at it again. And they have divorces, deaths of those beneficiaries, and so it's sitting there with no person that you really wanted to go to, and people don't realize that.
Yeah, because you don't want it to go to laughing ears.
What did you call them?
Laughing ears.
I've never heard that term.
I haven't either. And so explain that. I don't want to.
Okay, so a laughing ear is someone that is so remote that receives something from your estate, they probably don't even know who you are, or someone that knows that you would not have wanted them to receive what they received. So they're laughing at you because they took yours.
They took all the way to the bank. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so y'all hear that now.
I know.
We don't want them laughing ears to get nothing.
I know. It's because people, like I said, they don't put into place or they forget to change the name and the voice. All that
well,
stuff.
people got insurance policies and work insurance policies and beneficiaries just got the wrong name on it.
The wrong name on it, yes.
Yeah. So and it's truly, if the person is deceased, now you got a whole probate issue. Oh yeah. Okay. So anything else you want to ask?
No, that was sum that up in a nutshell.
Listen, Pat, thank you for coming on. Let us know when you do that the seminar that you're
Okay,
gonna
I will. Thank you for having me. And you promised it would be fun, and it was.
do. Okay, good, good. So I don't want to be a liar. I can be a lot of things, but I won't be that. All right.
We did enjoy you. And I see you
Yes.
smiled all through it. So yeah, we're happy.
That's right.
We
Thank
are
you.
All right. Thank you for coming on, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Like I said, and
I
let
can't
us
wait to
know.
look at
Like I
what-
said, oh, but and let your people know this will be on YouTube as well.
Yes.
Okay, I will let them know.
Yep.
And so thanks again.
All right. Thank you.
I'll be talking to you.
All right.
All
Bye.
right.
Bye bye.
Virtual
Take
hug.
care.
Right back at you.
Thank you, sweetie. All right.